The diplomatic station hung above Earth like a silver coin spinning in the void. Captain Aaron Hayes stood at the observation window, watching his home world rotate below. Somewhere down there, people lived their lives with no idea that the future of humanity was about to change forever. He turned away from the window and checked his uniform one more time. The dress uniform felt tight around his shoulders. In a few hours, he would marry an alien ambassador he had never met. The orders had come from Earth leadership 3 weeks ago. The Valorian Collective, one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, demanded a symbolic marriage between their species and humanity. This marriage would bind the two civilizations together and prevent war. It was not a request. It was a condition for peace. Aaron had been chosen because he was a military officer with a clean record, diplomatic training, and the kind of calm face that made aliens feel at ease. The woman chosen to marry him was Dr. Lisa Bennett, a diplomat and xenobiologist who had lived among alien species for 5 years. They had exchanged 2 brief communications. Nothing more. Aaron made his way through the station corridors. The halls were decorated with banners showing both human and Valorian symbols. The Valorians had brought their own crew to prepare for the ceremony. Everything had to be perfect. One small mistake could offend the Valorians and destroy the peace agreement before it even began. He reached the main reception hall and found Dr. Bennett standing alone near the viewport. She wore a white diplomatic dress with Earth symbols embroidered along the sleeves. She turned when she heard him enter. "Captain Hayes," she said. Her voice was steady and calm. "I was wondering when I would meet you properly." "Dr. Bennett," he replied. "I apologize for the short notice. Earth leadership wanted to keep this simple." "Simple," she repeated, looking back at the window. "We are about to marry a Valorian ambassador and join 2 civilizations together. I'm not sure simple is the right word." Aaron moved to stand beside her. "In 3 hours, we will be married. In 2 days, the Valorian delegation will leave. Then we will begin understanding what this marriage actually means." Lisa nodded slowly. "I have studied Valorian culture for years. They are impressive. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their cities are beautiful, but they see us as children playing with toys." She paused. "They think we are weak." Aaron had not expected her to be so direct. "Are we?" "No," Lisa said without hesitation. "We are not weak. We are different. We come from a harsh world. Earth made us adaptable. The Valorians come from a perfect world. That makes them confident, but it also makes them blind to certain things." The ceremony began an hour after sunset. The main chamber of the diplomatic station had been transformed into a wedding space. Humans and Valorians filled the seats. Ambassador Viren stood at the center of the chamber. He was a tall being made of what looked like living crystal, his form catching and reflecting light in strange ways. His voice was soft but carried clearly throughout the room. "We gathered today to bind 2 species together," Viren said, "to show that even beings from different worlds can find common ground. This marriage represents a new era of cooperation." Aaron and Lisa stood before him. They exchanged vows that had been written by lawyers and diplomats from both sides. The words were careful and measured. Nothing was left to chance. When the moment came to exchange rings, Aaron took Lisa's hand. Her skin felt warm and human. Their eyes met for just a moment, and he saw something there. Not comfort, exactly, but understanding. They were both walking into this together. The ceremony was short. There was no kissing. The Valorians did not understand that custom. Instead, Viam held both their hands in his glowing palms and announced that they were now united. The reception that followed was tense. Aaron moved through the crowd, shaking hands with Valorian officers and alien diplomats from various other species. Everyone wanted to congratulate the new couple. Everyone wanted to see if humans could truly stand beside the powerful Valorians as equals. Chancellor Cade approached Aaron near the food tables. Cade was another Valorian, but his crystalline form was darker than Rand's. His expression was difficult to read. "Captain Hayes," Cade said, "your species has come far, even though you started from such primitive conditions." "We have done well," Aaron replied. "Earth teaches its people to adapt quickly." "Yes, but adaptation is not the same as advancement," Cade said. "The Valorian Collective has had 3,000 years to refine our technology and culture. What do humans have? A few centuries of space travel?" Aaron felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "We have something the Valorians might not fully understand. We have survived on a world that tries to kill us. Every storm on Earth is stronger than what your people have experienced. Every winter challenges our ability to survive. That teaches a person to never give up." Cade made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You speak of survival as if it were a virtue. The Valorians have moved beyond mere survival. We have perfected existence itself." Before Aaron could respond, Lisa appeared beside him. She took his arm gently. "Ambassador Cade," she said with a smile, "come tell me about the new Valorian research into dimensional physics. Captain Hayes and I were just discussing it." She guided Cade away, leaving Aaron standing alone. When she returned a few minutes later, she whispered, "Do not let him get into your mind. Cade is a politician. He sees humans as threats because he senses that our marriage might actually work. And if it works, the Valorians cannot ignore humanity anymore." Aaron looked at Lisa with new respect. "You understand them. I have lived among them long enough to see how they think," Lisa said. "The Valorians are powerful, but they have a weakness. They believe so completely in their own superiority that they cannot imagine being challenged by anyone they see as inferior. That belief makes them careless." Later that night, after the reception had ended, Aaron stood once more at the observation window. Lisa joined him without asking permission. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I am thinking about all the things that could go wrong," Aaron said. "About how fragile peace really is." "Peace is not fragile," Lisa replied. "It is strong, but only if both sides truly want it. The question is not whether this peace will last. The question is whether the Valorians will let themselves see us as we actually are." Aaron looked at her. "And what are we?" "Dangerous," Lisa said simply. "In the best possible way. When humans are cornered, when everything is at stake, we become something no one expects. The Valorians have not learned this yet. I hope they never have to." As the night grew deeper, both of them watched Earth rotating slowly below them. Neither spoke again. There was nothing left to say. The marriage was real now. The peace agreement was signed. All that remained was to see what would happen next. The explosion came at 0400 hours. Aaron was awake immediately. Years of military training meant that his body reacted before his mind fully processed what was happening. The station shook violently. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Red emergency lights flooded his quarters. He was pulling on his combat uniform when Lisa burst through the door. She was still wearing her diplomatic nightgown, her hair loose around her shoulders. "What is happening?" she demanded. "Attack," Aaron said. "Get to the command center. Move." They ran through corridors that were now filling with crew members. Some moved with purpose toward their stations. Others were confused and scared. The station shook again, and Aaron heard the terrible sound of structural damage. Metal groaned. Something ruptured somewhere deep in the station. The command center was chaos. Screens showed incoming Valorian ships. Not just a few. Dozens of them. They were surrounding the station in attack formation. Commander Patrick Sullivan stood at the center of the room, his scarred face grim and focused. Sullivan was one of the best military minds Earth had. He had fought in 3 different wars and survived them all. "Status," Aaron demanded. "We are being attacked by Valorian forces under General Thorne." Sullivan replied without turning away from the tactical display. "The attack came from behind our sensor net. They use some kind of cloaking technology we cannot detect." "Why?" Aaron asked. "Why would they attack?" "We just signed a peace agreement." "Because the peace agreement means nothing to Thorne," a new voice said. Lisa moved closer to the tactical display. "Cade is making a move. This is a power struggle within Valorian leadership. Ambassador Viren is the one who wanted peace with us. Cade wants conflict. Cade wants to prove that humans cannot be trusted." Sullivan looked at her carefully. "You are certain of this?" "Yes," Lisa said. "Cade made it clear last night. He believes Viren is weak for seeking peace with humans. This attack proves Cade is right within the Valorian hierarchy. When they see that humans cannot fight back effectively, they will support Cade instead of Viren." Another explosion rocked the station. Screens showed 2 human defense fighters launching from the bay. They were old models, built decades ago. Against Valorian ships, they would be like throwing rocks at a fortress. "The Valorians think we will surrender immediately," Aaron said. His mind was working fast now, running through options. "They do not understand that we will not give up because we cannot afford to." Sullivan nodded once. "Then we make them regret that assumption. Get fighters in the air. Get me everything we have." Aaron moved to the communications station. "All human military personnel, this is Captain Hayes. Report to battle stations. We are under attack by hostile Valorian forces. Defend this station." "That is an order." The response was immediate. Across the station, human crew members moved into action. Fighter pilots ran toward the launch bays. Weapons officers took their stations. Medical teams prepared for casualties. The human military was not large, but it was trained and it was ready. Lisa pulled up files on her portable datapad. "I need access to the Valorian ship database. I am going to the research station." "No," Aaron said. "You stay here." "I have studied Valorian technology for 5 years," Lisa said firmly. "They have a weakness in their power distribution systems. Their crystalline biology does not require redundancy. Carbon-based systems like ours are built with backups. They are not. If I can identify the exact frequency of their power grids, we might be able to create a weapon." Aaron wanted to argue with her. He wanted to keep her safe. But he was not a fool. "Go. Work fast. Send everything you find directly to Commander Sullivan." Lisa ran from the command center. The first human fighter was destroyed before it had traveled 2,000 meters from the station. The second one managed to fire a missile before being hit. The missile struck a Valorian ship but caused no visible damage. Sullivan watched the tactical display with the expression of a man who was used to losing battles and finding ways to win anyway. "Shields holding at 70%. We have maybe 6 hours before they break through. Ammunition stores are adequate for defensive fire, but offensive capability is minimal." General Thorne appeared on the communication screen. His Valorian form was sharp and angular. His voice was cold. "This is General Thorne of the Valorian Collective," he said. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, or we will destroy the station and everyone on it." Aaron stepped forward. "This is Captain Aaron Hayes of the United Nations Space Command. We will not surrender. We will defend this station and everyone on it." Thorne actually laughed. "You are serious? Your ships cannot harm ours. Your weapons are primitive. You have no chance." "Maybe not," Aaron said. "But we have something your people have not considered. We have everything to lose. We fight hardest when there is no other choice." The communication ended. Sullivan turned to Aaron. That was brave or stupid? Probably both. He needed to hear that we would fight, Aaron replied. It changes the dynamic in his mind. Now he knows this will not be easy. Now he knows humans do not surrender. The station was struck again. This time, the impact was in the medical bay. The casualty count started to climb. Humans died in the attack, but more importantly, they died fighting. Every explosion that hit the station made the crew fight harder. Lisa appeared on the communication channel from the research station. I have it. I found the power distribution weakness. I am calculating the exact frequencies now. How long? Sullivan asked. 1 hour, Lisa said. Maybe less. We have maybe 5 hours before their shields can break through ours, Sullivan said. Work faster. The bombardment continued. The Valorians were confident and methodical. They did not rush. They did not need to. They had superior firepower and superior numbers. They simply kept attacking until the human defenses crumbled. But humans did not break the way the Valorians expected. Damage control teams worked without sleep. Shield generators were repaired and repaired again. Ammunition was rationed and used with maximum efficiency. When conventional weapons failed, crews found other ways to fight back. Aaron moved through the station, checking on every section. He saw people working past exhaustion. He saw fear in their faces. But he saw something else too. Determination. The knowledge that giving up meant death anyway. So they might as well fight. In the 3rd hour of the attack, Lisa called again. I have the frequency matrix. I am uploading it now to your command center. Sullivan caught the data. His eyes moved across the screen quickly. Then he looked at Aaron and nodded once. It might work. It is a chance anyway. Then we take it, Aaron said. As the bombardment continued and the station's shields grew weaker. Humans prepared for a counterattack that violated every rule of conventional military strategy. It was the kind of plan that only desperate people would attempt. It was the kind of plan that had saved humanity before. It would either save them again or destroy them completely. The engineering core of the station was underground, protected by multiple layers of shielding. Victoria Torres stood in the center of the core, her hands moving across the control panels with the precision of a surgeon. She had been the chief engineer of the diplomatic station for 7 years. She knew every circuit, every power conduit, every weakness in the system. We need to reprogram the repair drones, she said to the team working beside her. Lisa's frequency data tells us exactly where to hit the Valorian power systems. The drones can carry electromagnetic pulse packages to their weakest points. One of her engineers looked at the calculations on the screen. These attacks would need to be perfectly timed. The drones have no cloaking. The Valorians will see them coming. Then we send many drones, Victoria said. Some will be destroyed. Some will get through. That is enough. In the command center, Aaron studied the tactical display. The Valorian ships had formed a loose perimeter around the station. They were not in a tight formation. General Thorne was so confident in victory that he had spread his forces out, keeping them at a distance where they could bombard the station with minimal risk. This is our opening, Sullivan said, pointing at the gaps between the ships. These spaces are not defended. The Valorians think nothing can threaten them there. Then we go through the gaps, Aaron said. We launch our remaining fighters with the EMP packages. We hit them hard and fast. We will lose ships, Sullivan said flatly. We will lose ships anyway, Aaron replied. At least this way we have a chance. The order was given. The remaining human fighters were armed with the EMP packages that Victoria had prepared. Each package was designed to deliver an electromagnetic pulse at the exact frequency that Lisa had calculated would damage the Valorian power systems. The packages were heavy. The fighters would be slower and less maneuverable, but that was acceptable. What mattered was reaching the Valorian ships. The first wave of fighters launched. There were only 4 of them. They moved toward the gaps in the Valorian formation. Aaron watched from the command center as they approached the enemy ships. The Valorian response was immediate and overwhelming. Defensive fire erupted from multiple ships. The first fighter was hit and exploded. The second one was hit and kept going, moving toward its target with grim determination. It released its EMP package, and the package struck a Valorian ship directly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Valorian ship's lights flickered. Its weapons went silent. The ship listed and began to lose altitude. The EMP had worked. The third and fourth fighters were hit before they could complete their runs, but both released their packages before they were destroyed. Both packages struck their targets. Sullivan's eyes were hard as he watched the human fighters die. We just lost 4 of our best pilots. And we damaged 3 Valorian ships, Aaron said. Calculate the ratio. 3 major warships for 4 fighters. That is a trade the Valorians did not expect. Lisa appeared on the screen from the research station. I am tracking the power failures on the Valorian ships. The EMP worked perfectly. 2 of them have gone completely dark. The third is operating at reduced capacity. In the next hours, more waves of attacks were launched. Not all of them were fighters. The station had small maintenance shuttles, repair vehicles, anything that could carry an EMP package. The Valorians were so focused on their artillery bombardment that they were not prepared for these small, unpredictable attacks. Each attack succeeded only partially. Many packages failed to reach their targets. Many shuttles were destroyed before they could deploy their weapons. But some got through, and each one that got through caused damage. By hour 18 of the bombardment, 6 Valorian ships had suffered significant damage. 3 of them had withdrawn from combat. 2 had gone dark completely. The Valorians were starting to understand that they were facing a form of warfare they did not anticipate. General Thorne called a tactical meeting with his officers. The communication was not encrypted. Lisa intercepted it. The humans are using unpredictable tactics, Thorne said to his commanders. They are sacrificing their small ships to damage our larger ones. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare. No, one of his officers replied. It is how species fight when they are desperate, when they have nothing to lose. Then we finish them, Thorne said. Concentrate all fire on the station's power systems. Break their shields and end this. The bombardment increased in intensity. The station shook constantly now. Aaron could feel the structure failing around him. Alarms rang continuously. Reports of casualties flooded in. The medical teams were overwhelmed. There was not enough time to save everyone who was hit. Commander Sullivan was in the weapons bay when a direct hit came. The explosion was massive. Sullivan was killed instantly, along with 30 other crew members. When Aaron heard the news, he felt something change inside him. Sullivan had been his friend. Sullivan had been a good officer and a better man. Now he was gone. We have lost Shield Generator 3, the tactical officer reported. Shield strength is down to 40%. We cannot sustain combat for more than 2 hours at this rate. Aaron looked at the tactical display and made a decision. I am launching a personal run to the Valorian flagship. I am taking the fastest shuttle we have. That is suicide, Lisa said through the communication system. You will never reach it. Maybe, Aaron said. But Bjorn is a prisoner on that ship. He is the only one who can stop this fighting. I will get him out. Before anyone could stop him, Aaron was in a pilot's chair. He had not flown in combat in 5 years, but his training was still there. His hands moved across the controls with muscle memory guiding him. The shuttle launched. The journey to the Valorian flagship was impossible. The route took him directly through Valorian fire. But Aaron flew like a man who had nothing left to lose. He dove and twisted through attack patterns that no Valorian pilot expected. He used the small size of his shuttle to navigate through gaps that larger ships could not fit through. 2 Valorian fighters moved to intercept him. Aaron pushed the shuttle to its limits. He climbed and dove and turned in directions that should have torn the shuttle apart. But the small human ship was more maneuverable than the Valorian fighters. Aaron left them behind. He reached the flagship's docking bay and crashed directly into it. The impact was violent. Aaron hit the controls to activate the manual locks. The shuttle sealed itself to the Valorian dock. He pulled on an emergency environment suit and cycled the airlock. Inside the Valorian ship, he found Varen in a detention chamber. The Valorian ambassador was damaged from the bombardment, but he was alive. "Captain Hayes," Vian said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "We are stopping this fight," Aaron said. "You are going to help us." Getting Viren out of the ship was easier than getting in. The Valorians were confused by Aaron's presence. By the time they understood what was happening, he had already reached the shuttle with Vion. The escape was violent and close, with Valorian weapons firing at the shuttle as it disengaged from the dock. But Aaron reached the station and brought Viren safely back. The moment Viren appeared on the Valorian communication channels, everything changed. He demanded that General Thorn stand down. He declared that Thorn's attacks violated Valorian law and peace agreements. He called for immediate cessation of all hostile action. In the Valorian hierarchy, an ambassador's word carried significant weight. General Thorn was forced to comply. The bombardment stopped. Human and Valorian forces faced each other across the void, both sides exhausted and damaged. But one thing was clear. The Valorians had not won. If anything, the humans had, and the lesson was just beginning. Aaron sat in the command center with his uniform torn and burned. His right arm was wrapped in bandages. His face was marked with bruises and ash. He had not slept in 36 hours. But his eyes were clear and focused. Viarn stood beside him, recovering from his injuries. The Valorian ambassador's crystalline form had cracks running through it, damage from the bombardment. But his voice was steady when he spoke. "What you did was unprecedented," Viren said. "You sacrificed your own people to save your species." "The Valorians do not think this way. We do what we must to survive," Aaron replied. "That is what it means to come from a harsh world." Sullivan's body lay in the station's medical bay, along with 384 others. They had died defending a peace agreement that had broken down within hours. Lisa had personally identified each body. She had recorded their names so their families would know how they died, fighting, defending others. News of the attack was spreading through the galaxy. Ships from other species were arriving to witness the aftermath. The Mirkid Collective sent a diplomatic vessel. The Kelthar Confederation sent observers. The Valorian Collective sent additional forces, but more importantly, they were all coming to understand something new about humanity. Dr. William Foster was the station's lead astronomer and sensor specialist. He had been monitoring deep space signals throughout the battle. Now he brought his findings to Aaron and Lisa. This attack was not just about Cade and Thorn making a power play, Foster said, showing them the data. It was a test. The other galactic powers were watching to see if humans could be conquered easily. Now they know the answer. Lisa studied the sensor readings. Other species are coming to see what humanity is capable of. They want to understand how we fought. They want to know if we are a threat. "We are a threat," Aaron said simply, "but not the kind they are afraid of. We are a threat because we will not give up. Because we will sacrifice anything to protect our homes and our people." That night, VR requested a private meeting with Aaron and Lisa. They met in one of the station's observation lounges. The Valorian ambassador looked out at the damaged Valorian ships in the distance. "I understand now why Cade was afraid of this marriage," Viren said. "He saw something in humans that frightened him. He knew that if humans and Valorians worked together, if we truly cooperated as equals, it would change everything in the galaxy. The Valorian dominance would be challenged." "So Cade attacked to prove that humans could be easily defeated," Lisa said. "Yes," Viren replied. "But he was wrong. The Valorians have superior technology, but humans have something we lack. You have the will to survive against impossible odds. You have creativity in battle. You have courage that comes from having nothing left to lose." Aaron stepped forward. "What will happen now? Will the Valorian collective accept that humans are equals?" "They will have no choice," Viren said. "By tomorrow, stories of this battle will have spread to every major power in the galaxy. The stories will say that humans defeated a Valorian attack force with inferior weapons and fewer numbers. Some will say humans actually won. Others will say humans held their own. But none will say humans lost." Chancellor Cade had not survived the battle. In his final moments, when he realized his gamble had failed, he activated a self-destruct sequence on his flagship rather than face judgment. His death was cowardly and shameful. The Valorians, for all their power, valued courage and honor. Cade had shown neither in his final moments, but humans had shown both. Over the next days, the human crew of the station began repairs. They worked alongside Valorian engineers who were fascinated by human methods. Human engineers improvised solutions that broke every rule of conventional design. These solutions were inefficient by Valorian standards, but they worked. And they worked quickly. "You build wrong," a Valorian engineer said to Victoria Torres as she rerouted power through a system that was never meant to handle that kind of load. "We build to survive," Victoria replied. "Not to be perfect. When you come from a world that is always trying to kill you, you learn to fix things with whatever you have. Perfect is a luxury for species that have time to wait." General Thorne requested a direct meeting with Aaron. The human captain was nervous about the meeting, but he went anyway. Thorne was a soldier. He would understand what Aaron had done. "You have courage," Thorne said when they met face to face. "Your species fights the way the ancient Valorians fought before we became civilized. You fight like predators. You fight like every moment could be your last." "We do what we must," Aaron said. "I want to establish a military exchange program," Thorne said. "I want human officers to train with Valorian forces. I want to understand how you think in battle." I want to learn from you." Aaron nodded. "We can do that. My people will learn from you as well. We will become stronger together." News continued to arrive from across the galaxy. The Kelthar Confederation was interested in trade agreements with Earth. The Mirkid Collective wanted to send scientists to study human combat tactics. 3 other species requested diplomatic relations. Earth's standing in the galaxy had changed completely in the span of 36 hours. Lisa broadcast a message that was recorded and sent to every major power in the galaxy. She stood in front of cameras with her uniform burned and her face marked by the battle. Her words were simple and direct. "We are humans from Earth," she said. "We come from a world that is harsh and unforgiving. Every day on Earth teaches you to adapt. Every storm teaches you that survival requires sacrifice. We do not have superior technology. We do not have the longest history of any civilization. But we have something that no amount of technology can replace. We have the will to protect those we love. We have the creativity to solve problems that seem impossible. We have the courage to stand and fight even when victory seems impossible. She paused and looked directly at the camera. The Valorians attacked, expecting an easy victory. They did not understand that humans do not accept defeat. We do not surrender. We adapt. We fight. We survive. And when necessary, we teach others these lessons. The message was played and replayed across the galaxy. Humans became known as the species that fought when others would have surrendered. They became known as the people who sacrificed everything to protect their homes. Aaron and Lisa stood together at the observation window, watching new ships arrive to establish diplomatic relations. The marriage that was meant to be symbolic had become real. It had been forged in battle and pain. It represented something genuine between two species who had learned to respect each other. Do you think this will hold? Lisa asked. This peace, this new relationship with the Valorians. Aaron thought about Sullivan. He thought about the 384 people who had died defending the station. It will hold, he said, because both sides understand now what the other is capable of. We have earned our place in the galaxy, not through diplomacy, not through negotiation, but through proving that we deserve to be here. Lisa took his hand. It was the first truly intimate moment between them since they had met. They were no longer strangers forced into marriage by politics. They were survivors. They were partners. They were the representatives of two species learning to respect each other. What comes next? Lisa asked. Everything, Aaron said. The future is not written yet. But I know one thing. Humanity will be a part of shaping it. We will not stand on the sidelines anymore. We will stand at the center of the galaxy's power structure because we have earned that place. The sun set over Earth below them. It was the same sun that had shone on human ancestors for millions of years. The sun that had witnessed their evolution from simple creatures into a species capable of reaching the stars. That same species had just proven that they belonged among the greatest powers in the galaxy. 1 week after the final battle, representatives from 5 different galactic powers arrived at the diplomatic station. The station had been repaired enough to function properly again, though the scars of the bombardment were still visible on the outer hull. Those scars would remain. They would serve as a reminder of what had happened here. Aaron stood in the main diplomatic chamber wearing a new dress uniform. The old one had been destroyed in the fighting. He was now officially an ambassador as well as a military officer. The United Nations Space Command had recognized his actions during the battle and promoted him. Lisa had also been promoted. She was now the chief diplomat for Earth relations with the galactic powers. The representatives entered the chamber. There was Varen, representing the Valorian collective. General Thorne came with him, still bearing the scars of his ship's damage. There was a Mirka delegate, a being that looked like living water given physical form. A Kelthar representative, whose species resembled tall praying mantises with crystalline limbs. And finally, an observer from the Galactic Council itself, the oldest organization of civilizations in the known galaxy. The observer was ancient. Its name was Keeper Tall, and it had witnessed the rise and fall of 36 species. Its voice was slow and measured, like someone who had learned patience over centuries. I have come to understand what happened here, Keeper Tall said. I have read the reports. I have spoken with witnesses. I have studied the battle records. I am here to confirm something that the galaxy is already beginning to understand. The chamber was silent. For 3,000 years, Keeper Tall continued. The Valorian collective has been the dominant military force in this region of space. Their technology was superior. Their numbers were overwhelming. It was believed by many that no species could stand against them. And then, on this station, a new species proved that belief was wrong. Varen stepped forward. Humans are not superior in technology. They are not superior in numbers. But they possess something that cannot be measured by conventional standards. They possess an adaptability that comes from their world. They possess a courage that comes from understanding that survival is not guaranteed. They possess a will that exceeds anything I have encountered in 200 years of life. The Keltha representative made a sound that might have been agreement. We have studied your combat records, Captain Hayes. Your tactics violate every principle of strategic military science. And they work. They work because we have no choice, Aaron said. When you come from a world like Earth, you learn to use what you have. You learn to adapt. You learn that the most dangerous enemy is one that has nothing left to lose. Lisa stepped forward and addressed the gathered ambassadors. She had prepared carefully for this moment. Her words were written and rehearsed, but they came from genuine belief. Earth has spent its entire history fighting for survival, she said. We fought against disease and hunger. We fought against other nations for resources. We fought against storms that could destroy our cities. We fought against creatures that wanted to eat us. Every moment of human history has been shaped by the knowledge that the world is dangerous and that survival is not guaranteed. She paused and looked at each ambassador in turn. When we came to space, those lessons came with us. We brought that hunger to survive. We brought that determination to face impossible odds. We brought that creativity that comes from having to solve problems with limited resources. The Valorians have had 3,000 years of peace and prosperity. They have perfected their systems. But perfection makes you vulnerable to things you do not expect. Humans have never had the luxury of perfection. We have always had to be ready for anything. The Mirkid delegate pulsed with what might have been excitement or agreement. This is fascinating. We have always believed that technological superiority guaranteed victory. But you have shown us this is not always true. Keeper Tall made a gesture of recognition. The galaxy has changed. This is the moment. In this room, today, the balance of power shifts. The Valorians remain powerful, but they are no longer unchallenged. And humanity, though young in galactic terms, has claimed its place among the great powers. Over the following hours, representatives discussed new trade agreements, military cooperation, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense treaties. Earth would not be isolated anymore. Humans would have access to Valorian technology. Humans would be allowed to establish embassies on multiple worlds. In return, Earth would agree to provide military consultation to the Mirkid Collective and participate in galactic council discussions about matters of common interest. By the end of the day, Earth's status in the galaxy had been officially recognized. They were equals now, not newcomers to be monitored, not children to be protected, but true participants in the greater community of civilizations. That night, Aaron stood once more at the observation window. He was no longer watching Earth as his home. He was watching it as the home of a species that had earned its place in the cosmos. Lisa found him there, as she had found him so many times before. I received a message from Earth leadership, she said. They want to establish a new military academy. They want to train the best human soldiers in tactics and strategy based on what we learned in this battle. They want Earth to become known as a place where the best warriors come to learn. Earth has always produced fighters, Aaron said. But now the galaxy will understand why. We come from a hard world. That shapes us in ways that cannot be taught. That can only be learned by surviving a world that is constantly challenging you. There is something else, Lisa said. She held up a datapad. The Valorian Collective sent this. They want to establish a joint human-Valorian research institute on the station. They want to study how humans can fight so effectively despite technological disadvantage. They believe the answer is in our biology, our psychology, and our history. Aaron took the datapad and read through the proposal. It was detailed and serious. The Valorians were genuinely interested in understanding humans. Not to conquer them, not to control them, but to learn from them. "This is good," Aaron said. "This is what real partnership looks like." Lisa nodded. It started with a marriage that was supposed to be political, a symbolic gesture to keep the peace. But it became something real. It became a foundation for genuine understanding. "Do you think we would have done any of this without the attack?" Aaron asked. "Do you think we would have grown closer if things had gone according to plan?" Lisa thought about this carefully. "No, we would have remained distant. We would have fulfilled our roles as ambassadors and nothing more. But the attack forced us to depend on each other. It forced us to trust each other. It showed us that we both wanted the same thing: survival, safety, a better future for our people." In the weeks that followed, humanity began to transform. Young people on Earth watched the recordings of the battle and understood that their species was no longer isolated. They were part of something larger now. Some joined military academies to become the warriors that the galaxy was beginning to respect. Others became engineers and scientists, studying how to improve human technology using insights gained from alien partnerships. The Valorian Research Institute became a center of learning for both species. Valorian scientists studied human resilience and adaptation. Human scientists studied Valorian technology and found ways to improve it using human improvisation and creativity. The combination was powerful. Aaron and Lisa worked together as the new leadership of Earth's galactic relations. They were not just husband and wife by law anymore. They were genuine partners. They understood each other in ways that went beyond words. A year after the battle, Earth's first new warship launched from the orbital construction facility. It was built using human and Valorian technology combined. It was not as powerful as a pure Valorian warship, but it was more maneuverable. It was not as expensive to build as a human ship, but it was more effective. It was something new. Something that proved that cooperation could create things neither species could create alone. The ship was named the Sullivan, after Commander Patrick Sullivan. It carried a crew of both humans and Valorians. It was a symbol of the future. On the night of the launch, Aaron and Lisa stood at the observation window as they had done so many times before. They watched the Sullivan move into space. Its lights were bright and clear. Its course was toward the outer reaches of explored space. It was going to explore new worlds, establish new relationships, and continue the work that had started with a marriage that was meant to be political, but had become something genuine. "Do you ever think about how close we came to losing everything?" Lisa asked. "Every day," Aaron replied. "I think about Sullivan and the others who died. I think about how things could have ended differently if even one of our plans had failed. But I also think about what we learned. We learned that humanity is capable of more than we ever believed. We learned that we belong in this galaxy. We learned that our weakness is actually a strength if we use it correctly." The Valorians had to learn a hard lesson, Lisa said. They had to understand that technology and power are not the same thing as victory. They had to understand that desperation makes people dangerous. They had to understand that humans will never surrender, no matter what.